I came to the Dune Expanse hunting relics, not brides. That's the line I keep rehearsing in my head as I watch them. Two alien women kneeling in the scorched sand, their silver-white hair catching the wind like silk banners, their matching crimson bodysuits clinging to figures that look like they were sculpted for distraction and destruction alike. They watch me with eyes like frozen starlight, not blinking, not speaking, just waiting. I wasn't ready for this. Hell, I was barely ready for a sandstorm. Orvax Prime isn't the kind of place where things happen by accident. It's where old regrets bake out of your skull and ghosts crawl up from the dunes just to ask if you've finally gone mad. I'd come here to find an ancient AI core beneath the buried remains of Cathor Citadel. What I found instead was a baldman in sand-blasted robes waving a bottle of Ferocian fire and shouting my name like we were old war buddies. "You're Kale Virek?" he'd asked, grinning with a strange teeth-baring satisfaction. "Depends," I said. "You got a reason to be asking?" He didn't answer me, just pointed toward the two women kneeling behind him and said, "You are now their bonded." I raised an eyebrow. "Their what?" He lifted the bottle of fire above his head like a holy relic. "Varelian twins, weapon-bred, gene-sung, emotion-bound, royal daughters. Mine once, now yours." My lips were too dry to curse properly. "That's not how transactions work." He grinned wider and hurled the bottle at my feet. "Sure it is. Drink up." Then just like that, he turned and walked away into the burning wind. Didn't leave a name. No deal struck. No receipt. Just the stench of heat and salt and something much deeper than I wanted to admit. Destiny. They didn't ask my name. They didn't have to. That first night, after I built a makeshift fire under the shadow of a rust-eaten skiff hulk, they looked at me and spoke in unison, not with mouths, but minds. "We are Solara and Nyx," they sang into my head, voices like whispering. "Stars, we are yours. You are not our father." Well, no kidding. They ate rations like they were delicacies, watching everything I did with the intensity of hunters, not prey. Solara, the one with the streak of silver through her hair, moved with the precision of a soldier. Nyx was different, curious, fluid, her fingers dancing near the firelight like she wasn't entirely convinced it was real. "Why did he sell us?" Solara asked through the neural link. "I don't know," I answered honestly. "You accepted," Nyx said. Less accusation than curiosity. "I didn't." "Then why didn't you walk away?" I looked into those strange eyes and couldn't lie. I guess I didn't want to. They said nothing more after that, but when I lay down, they lay beside me, one on each side, their bodies warm, their breathing syncopated. I didn't sleep. Not really. I just stared at the stars and tried to remember what it felt like to be alone. The next day, we walked. I needed answers, and the comms tower on Ridge 6 was the only place I'd get them. We didn't get far before I saw the dust trail. Something was following us. No, not something. Multiple someones, on skimmers, fast and closing, slavers maybe, or collectors. Either way, bad news. "Stay behind me," I said, drawing my sidearm. "You're not strong enough," Solara replied, calm and certain. Before I could ask what she meant, she stepped forward and her body shimmered, patterns of light dancing across her skin. Armor formed from thin air. Nanotech, maybe, or something even older. Nyx followed, her body shifting into plated brilliance, energy humming along her spine. Like a living reactor. They weren't just beautiful. They were weapons. The skimmers closed in. 8 of them. I managed to disable one with a lucky shot. Nyx disappeared from view and reappeared on the back of a rider, ripping out the power core. With a flick of her hand, Solara sang, a high-pitched screech that shattered visors and made blood leak from ears. It was done in less than 5 minutes. We stood amid the wreckage of scrap metal and sand-scattered bodies. Solara looked untouched. Nyx smiled, brushing dust from her thigh. "Are you angry?" Nyx asked. "I should be," I said. "You just killed people." "They weren't people," Solara answered. "They were predators." "We protected our bonded," Nyx added. I looked at them, at the strength in their posture, the loyalty in their eyes. They weren't slaves. They weren't helpless. They had chosen to fight for me, for us. "Thanks," I said, and they smiled. That night, I couldn't rest. The stars above Orvax glared down like cold judgment. I sat with my back against the skiff wreck, sidearm across my knees. Solara joined me, her gaze upward. "You dream of loss," she said, not intruding, just knowing. I didn't answer. She reached out and touched my temple, and then I remembered. Titan, the firefight on Zeros 3, the boy I couldn't save. My brother's last breath over a broken comms channel. "You're reading my mind," I whispered. "No, I hear your pain. It's louder than your thoughts." I turned toward her. For the first time, I saw past her engineered perfection. She wasn't just a soldier. She was ancient, designed to connect, to carry. "You're not what I expected," I said. "Neither are you," she answered. "But I'm glad he chose you." I didn't know if she meant her father or fate. Nyx curled up beside me again, head against my shoulder, breath soft as starlight. Her scent was ozone and something floral, alien, but comforting. I fell asleep between them. No dreams, just warmth. At dawn, I found a mark burned into the side of one of the destroyed skimmers, a glyph, one I knew far too well. The Crimson Harrow. Slaver syndicate known for two things, cruelty and vengeance. They would come. Solara saw it too. They will not stop. Nyx reached out, fingers wrapping around mine. "But you will not face them alone." I looked across the ridge at the endless dunes. I hadn't planned for this. I'd never asked for it. But somehow, without even realizing I had made a choice. I hadn't accepted the trade, but I would fight to protect it, even if it killed me. The first sign of trouble came 3 days later, just after dusk. We'd made it to Ridge 6, barely a cluster of scrap towers and a failing comms relay on top of a canyon spine. I'd managed to hack into the tower's uplink, reaching out across the expanse for data, news, or even a voice from the black. What came back was worse than silence, a coded warning, Crimson Harrow hunting. Gridlock pattern initiated. All bonded subjects marked for reclamation. Target, Kyle Virek. Live. Capture. They knew my name. I leaned back from the terminal, pulse hammering. "They're coming for us." Solara and Nyx exchanged a glance. Not fear. Calculation. "How many?" Solara asked, adjusting the energy capacitors on her armored gauntlets. "Too many," I replied. "They're gridlocking the desert. That means drones, trackers, and at least 2 Harrow Outriders per sector." Nyx stood silently by the window, her long hair glowing faintly in the low light. "Then we must move. Ridge 6 will not hold." "I know," I muttered. "But I had to be sure. They're not just after you. They're after me too. Someone put a price on all of us." Solara stepped closer. "We are your bonded. We fight. Together." "Don't say that like it's a vow you can't take back," I said. "You didn't choose this life. Your father gave you away like currency." Solara's eyes burned silver. "We would rather be with you in battle than safe. In a cage." "Same," Nyx added softly. "Besides, we've never fought beside someone who dreamed of us before meeting us." I didn't know how to answer that. Instead, we prepared. I scavenged what weapons the outpost still had, an old plasma rifle with cracked casing, 2 EMP grenades, and a shoulder-mounted flare launcher. Solara trained me on her people's combat. Forms, using sand to sketch battle patterns I couldn't fully understand. Nix taught me to move silently, how to breathe when your heartbeat wanted to betray you. And then we ran. 3 days through the sands. We moved at night, hid during the day. The Varelian twins barely slept. I felt like a ghost being carried through another man's war. At night, they took turns watching over me. They whispered to each other in their ancient language. Sometimes they laughed, like siblings do when they've survived too much. Sometimes they looked at me like I was the only thing that made sense. The ambush came at dusk on the 4th day. A harrow skiff dropped from the clouds, silent, black and bristling with shock nets and plasma spears. I was thrown to the ground by a concussive pulse. Solara was faster, a blur of red and gold. Her energy blades flicked from her wrists, slicing through the first wave of drones. Nix disappeared entirely, an echo of heat and movement. I heard screams in the dark as she cut through the attackers like wind through paper. I dragged myself behind a shattered dune boulder, heart racing. One of the harrow captains landed beside me, armor jet black with crimson trim, eyes hidden behind a mirror visor. He leveled a phase shotgun at my chest. "Kyle Virek," he growled. "The bonded thief." "I didn't steal anyone," I spat. "Doesn't matter," he replied, aiming. "Your death is a message." He never fired. Solara crashed into him like a meteor, shattering his armor with a punch that cracked the ground beneath us. Nix landed beside her, spinning in a low sweep that took out his legs. Then they both turned to me. "You're hurt," Nix said. "Just bruised," I muttered, struggling to stand. "Good," Solara said, "because the real fight is still coming." And it did. From the ridge above, a roar tore through the sky. A harrow dropship, bigger than any I'd seen, descended on jets of green fire. It carried something monstrous. A biotank with a creature inside. 8 feet tall, half organic, half machine. A war beast bred for breaking bonded pairs. They'd sent a reclaimer. Solara and Nix didn't flinch. "We cannot defeat it separately," Solara said. "We must merge," Nix added, taking her sister's hand. Their bodies began to glow. I stepped back, shielding my eyes. Energy pulsed from them. Blue, gold, and silver. Their skin shimmered, and their forms began to twist. Not violently, but with purpose. A fusion of thought, matter, and memory. In moments, they became one. A single figure stood before me. Taller, stronger. Her hair was a radiant wave of starlight, her eyes burning like novas. Her armor pulsed with living circuitry. "I am Solanix," she said in a voice that echoed through my bones. "Bound by twin flame, awakened by your choice." The reclaimer roared. Solanix met it head-on. The desert shook. She moved like lightning and gravity combined, dodging plasma bolts and tearing through the reclaimer's armor with fists that burned with light. The creature struck her back, denting the ground with each blow. But she kept coming, fueled by will and something deeper, and as I watched, I realized she was fighting not just for survival, but for belonging, for me. The final blow cracked the sky. Solanix leapt high, spinning in midair, and drove both fists into the reclaimer's core. It exploded in a rain of sparks and black ichor, collapsing in a heap of broken rage. Silence followed. The fusion faded. Solara and Nix knelt on the sand, breathing hard. I rushed to them, kneeling between them. "You're both insane," I said. Nix laughed. "You're welcome." Solara touched my chest, just above my heart. "You still don't understand what this bond means, do you?" "I'm starting to," I said, "and it scares the hell out of me." "Good," she whispered, "because it means it's real." We camped under a red moon that night. No words needed, just quiet, comfort, proximity. In the silence, I asked something I'd been avoiding. "What happens if we reach safety, Nix?" stirred. There is no safety, only trust. You must choose us again, even when no one forces you to. Solara's voice followed. And if you do, we will never leave you. I looked between them, these alien warriors who were more than daughters, more than weapons. They were mine, and I was beginning to want to be theirs. We rode into the heart of the storm on stolen wings. The Harrow dropship, jury-rigged and barely holding together after Solara hotwired its core systems, groaned beneath us as it veered into low orbit. Sparks flared from ruptured vents. Warning, glyphs danced across the cockpit. But we didn't stop. We couldn't. Not now. Ahead lay the Vulture's nest, the Crimson Harrow's mobile fortress. A starfaring slaughterhouse, orbiting Orvax Prime like a vulture waiting for corpses. Every Harrow operation, every slaving raid, every bonded reclamation, all of it was controlled from that black Leviathan. And now we were flying straight at it. Solara piloted, her hands steady on the thruster grips. Nick sat beside her, fingers fluttering over the controls like a pianist interpreting chaos. I stood behind them, armored and armed, the stolen Reclaimer badge hanging from my chest like a lie. "You're sure this will work?" I asked for the third time. "No," Nick said cheerfully. "But it will be glorious," the comms crackled. "Dropship Zeta 9, you're entering restricted airspace. Identify." Solara switched the channel. Her voice dropped into a tone I'd never heard before. Metallic, emotionless, chilling. Zeta 9 returning with priority bonded retrieval. Code red exigent. There was a pause. Then, code verified. Docking Bay 3. Prepare for boarding. Protocol. We were in. The ship loomed above us, a jagged wedge of terror and steel. Anti-orbital turrets tracked us, unaware or unconcerned about what we carried in our hold. Me, them, and revenge. As we docked, I checked my rifle, then the blade at my hip, a Varelian edge blade gifted by Solara. It pulsed with faint blue light when I touched it. A heartbeat almost. "I still don't understand why they're doing all this," I muttered. "What do the Harrow want with bonded pairs?" "They don't want us," Solara said. "They fear us. Because bonded warriors are stronger," Nix added. "Together, we are beyond their control. Which means," Solara said, "they must break us, or study how." And I knew in that moment, we weren't the first pair the Harrow had captured, but we were going to be the last. The airlock hissed open. We stepped into a hangar full of armored mercs and scanning drones. No one raised a weapon. The Reclaimer's badge was doing its job, for now. We moved fast, through the corridors, past patrols. Nix hacked doors like they were made of paper. Solara mapped enemy patrols in her mind, guiding us between shadows and security blind zones. We reached the central core, Command Nexus E3. And there he was, General Trask Harrow. He stood with his back to us, flanked by 2 Reclaimers, and a holographic array projecting data about bonded neural maps, DNA drift patterns, and something worse, experimental, grafting protocols. They were trying to clone the bond, weaponize it. He turned slowly. His face was as ugly as his reputation, scarred from a plasma burst, eye replaced with a glowing red implant. "Well," he rasped, "look what the storm spat in. The bonded thief and his pretty little aliens. You're the one stealing," I growled, stepping forward. "No," he said. "I'm preserving. Your kind destabilizes order. Emotion makes weapons unreliable. Love makes them dangerous." "They're not weapons," I snapped. "They're people." His eye twitched. Solara stepped beside me. "We gave up a throne for freedom, and we chose him." "Foolish," Trask spat. "You were born for war, for conquest. We're choosing our war," Nick said. "And you just made our list." The firefight was instant. Trask's guards opened up with pulse repeaters. I dropped to one knee, fired twice, and sent the left guard flying. Solara spun like a fury, her blade slicing through the other before he could scream. Trask lunged. He was fast. Too fast for a man his age, cybernetically enhanced. Heavy strikes. Power-armored fists. He grabbed me by the throat and slammed me against the wall. I gasped, vision blurring. I saw what your bond did to the last bonded pair we captured. He hissed. They burned half a sector before we dissected them. My rage boiled, and then the Varelian twins merged again. Solanix emerged in a wave of light and wrath, her armor glowing gold. She drove into Trask like a meteor, fists shattering, his armor burning through cybernetics. He screamed, struck back, but it was like trying to stop a star from rising. You broke them, Solanix said, voice ringing. Now we break you. Her blade pierced his heart core. Trask collapsed, still twitching, the lights in his eye flickering. Out silence. We downloaded everything, every file, every plan, every name. The Harrow wouldn't rise again. We triggered the self-destruct. As we raced through the corridors, alarms blaring and walls shuddering, Nyx whispered into my mind, "Do you still think you didn't choose us?" I turned toward her, toward both of them. "No," I said. "I just didn't know I'd choose this hard." We made it to the dropship. Explosions rocked the hull. We launched into the sky as the vulture's nest died in fire behind us. Stars opened before us, endless, waiting, and in that silence, above a world that had almost killed us all, I felt their hands in mine. Solara, Nyx, both. "I don't know where we're going," I said. "You'll figure it out," Nyx murmured. "Where you go," Solara said, "we follow." I looked ahead, into the stars, into the unknown, and smiled. We didn't land for days. The dropship drifted on silent wings, cloaked, shielded, and quiet as the void. We patched its hull, rerouted power through scrap conduits, and waited in orbit above the dead moon of Atrion, one of the only places left. On the galactic charts, the Harrow hadn't poisoned. Solara and Nyx slept in shifts. When they weren't watching for enemies, they watched me. Something was wrong. It wasn't the calm. We'd had calm before. It was something under it, like a pulse we couldn't hear but all felt. I noticed it first when the stars flickered. Wrong. Then, when Nyx bled light after a nightmare. And worst of all, when Solara kissed me with a hint of fear behind her fire. The fusion had changed them, maybe forever. They tried to hide it. Twins always do, sharing pain like notes passed. In class. But I wasn't the same man who'd wandered into that bar half drunk and a galaxy tired. I'd loved them, chosen them. Now I saw everything. "You're unraveling," I said, late one night. Solara stood by the viewport, her armor stripped down to the undersuit, energy flickering across her collarbones like veins of starlight. She didn't deny it. "The merge was imperfect," she said. "We did it too often, too fast. Nyx, she's having memory surges." "And you?" I asked. She looked at me. "I'm dreaming of you before I met you. Places we've never been. Wars that haven't happened." Nyx entered from the hallway, barefoot, her eyes glowing faintly. "You've seen it too," she whispered. "The thread." I stood. "What thread?" Nyx raised her hand, and reality bent. For a second, the room shimmered. One of her fingers split into 3 glowing trails, each showing a different Kale. One dying on the Harrow ship, one alone, fleeing without them, one dead in a bar, never leaving. "It's time," Nyx said. "There's something under it. A machine. A god. A mechanism trying to splice realities." Solara touched her sister's shoulder. "We're not just bonded, Kale. We're tethered. Our bond makes the thread visible. It's using us to decide which future becomes real." I felt ice crawl up my spine. "So, which one wins?" "That depends," Nyx said, "on who breaks the bond." The thread was an ancient artifact. It lay hidden beneath the ice of Atrion's core, a living time engine, feeding on possibility. The Harrow hadn't just wanted the girls for weapons, they were keys. The final pieces to activate a future-choosing engine. A way to kill destiny and write their own. And now it was waking. We took the drop pod down to Atrian's surface. The moon was dead, cracked, and howling with magnetic storms. We crossed canyons of frozen lightning, fought through crystalline beasts born from the time rifts, and finally reached the machine. It was beautiful. A spiraling tower of black gold. Lattice, pulsing with rivers of potential futures. Floating glyphs spun around its crown. Faces of dead people we'd never met. Memories we hadn't lived. Kales who never met Solara. Nyx who became a queen of ash. All of them, possible, Solara. Touched the base of the tower. "It's asking," she said. "For what?" I asked. "For one of us to break the bond," Nyx said. "To choose a timeline." I stepped forward. "Then let me—" "No!" they both shouted. Solara's eyes burned. "You're the anchor, Kale. Without you, we fall apart." Nyx reached for my hand. "But if we break the bond, you'll die," I whispered. "Not die," Solara said, "but fade, fracture. One of us will remain. One will vanish," I backed away. "I'm not choosing between you." "You already did," Nyx said gently. "When you stayed. When you fought." Suddenly, the thread pulsed red. A crack ripped across the tower. Time bled from it. We saw planets dying in seconds, galaxies crumbling, a version of Earth swallowed by black vines. The Harrow winning in 20 other timelines. Ours, not among them. "We have to end it," Solara said. Nyx nodded. "I'll do it." "No," Solara said. "You're the better." "Half." "You always say that." "Because it's true." They looked at each other, two hearts that had burned together for too long. I stepped forward. "There has to be another way." "A way to—" They kissed me. Both. First Nyx, then Solara. Quick, fierce, final. And then Solara ran into the tower's core. "No!" I shouted, trying to follow, but Nyx held me back, tears in her eyes. There was a blinding flash, and when it faded, Solara was gone. Only the tower remained, dimmed, quiet, no longer pulsing. The thread had chosen. We were still alive. Still together, but not whole. Nyx and I climbed back to the surface in silence. When we reached the ship, she touched my cheek. "I can feel her," she whispered. "Not as a ghost, as light inside me." "She didn't fade," I said. "She became the bond." Nyx nodded. "Every time we merge again, she'll be there." And in the quiet that followed, I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I wept. For her. For us. For the galaxy we'd saved without anyone ever knowing. Now we run different jobs, little ones, freedom work. I still get in trouble. She still saves me. And sometimes when the stars flicker just right, I feel Solara laugh inside Nyx's chest, and I whisper to her in the dark, "I still choose you." Every day, forever. Like the pulse of the thread, your choices shape the stories that live on. If you felt something reading this, if you rooted for Kale, mourned Solara, and dreamed with Nyx, then don't let their tale end here.